Hey, all my Taurus friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about Saturn transiting into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius in March. I think this is a extremely important transit. The energies are going to change dramatically. Pluto is just going to tip its toe into Aquarius for a bit before it transits back into Capricorn. And then in the beginning of January 2024, it will move into Aquarius for the next 20 years. Before I start, this is based on Taurus rising, but you can also check Taurus moon and Taurus sun. The houses may not be the same. So when we talk about the Taurus rising, and I'm talking about what houses it is, it's based on that. So if you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your time of birth and location in order to determine that information. These videos are also based on Pacific time zone. So when I mention a date or I mention a time, it is based on that. So you want to adjust for your location in the world. And finally, if I sound a little bit lispy, I have a little bit of something going on up in here, and I am trying to sound as succinct as I possibly can. So bear with me there. All right. So for my Tauruses, you've had Uranus transiting through and the North Node transiting through your first house for quite some time. Come May, Jupiter is going to move into your sign. And I know I said I'm talking about Saturn and Pluto, but this is Saturn and Pluto, and your awareness of this shift in energy is going to tee up taking advantage of the transits as Jupiter spends about a year, a little bit more in your first house, along with Uranus. The North Node will be leaving shortly, so that'll be a bit of a change as well. Saturn by nature, Saturn is going to move into Pisces on March 7th, and it is going to traverse the 0 to 7 degree Pisces house in the year 2023. So any planets you have at that degree are going to be influenced by this transit, as well as anything you have opposing those degrees or squaring those degrees. So you might want to check your natal chart for that. I'm going to start with Saturn's transit into Pisces. Then I'm going to move into Pluto's dipping its toe into Aquarius. And then I'm going to go through some dates for the springtime that I think are important. Again, the intention for this video is to prepare ourselves on an energetic level to take the advantage of the highest vibration of these planets. You know, oftentimes astrologers inadvertently default to a very human perception of these planets. So as we perceive Saturn, you know, one of the first things you'll hear them say is restriction, depression, limitation, bringing up old stories. And most of the time we perceive those old stories as being negative or challenging. So all of this is true, but there are also different vibrations of Capricorn, Saturn. Sorry, got caught up by my tooth there for a second. Okay, Saturn rules teeth, by the way. So funny. All right, so what I want to say first is that as of, I believe it's the 28th of February through the 7th of March, just before Saturn enters Pisces, it will be at the anaretic degree of Capricorn. This is really powerful because Saturn has spent about 4.5, maybe 5 years in the two signs that it has rulership over. First Capricorn and then Aquarius. It co-rules with Uranus. So Saturn has felt very powerful here and being very willing to look at the structures of how we are operating. Are we operating on fear? Are we operating on blind authority, meaning things and structures that have been in place for so long that we don't really discern whether they're working for us? Saturn when it moves into Pisces, is going to, I think initially in the year 2023, we're going to sort of absorb this in a more challenging way because we're so used to Saturn feeling so strong. And when it moves into Pisces, it confronts an emotional energy that it is not necessarily known for. Saturn likes to show tenacity and determination and commitment and endurance beyond your own emotional comfort. And when that is achieved and we take responsibility and we take accountability and we base things on what we are actually experiencing versus the potential of something. Saturn does not like potential. And I hate to use the word realistic, although that is attached to Saturn. But here in Pisces, I think Saturn is digging deep into your belief system. What do you really believe about yourself based on your history, your karmic connections, both to yourself and to other energies on the planet? And how that plays out is extremely important in the sense of Saturn here allows for a mastery of awareness and wisdom. So when it's in Pisces, and Pisces being a water sign, being an intuitive sign, being a fluid sign, being very mutable in that it can mold and shape itself in some ways to those energies around it. And Saturn is going to be saying, wait a minute, are these energies serving where you really want to move forward? Saturn, by definition, rules authority, tradition, history, duty, karma, determination, discipline, what is sustainable, accountability, commitment, old age. It rules the end of life, the father, our public status, leadership. It likes to build and manifest wealth. It rules the bones and the teeth and the dynamics of old age. So here we're going to see a real potential for those that are conscious and those that are intentionally co-creating to truly build a wisdom, to seek when we experience some disruption or limitation or fear or depression that Saturn can foster in its more challenging energies, then we can use this 12th house to dig deeper into what we are experiencing and the psychological nature of the imprint that we have already that's been fostered and nurtured within the human experience, not to mention potential past lives. And this is where I wanted to do Pluto and Saturn together, because even though they're not moving into the same house, they are moving at the same time. And that is going to really kind of have this, it's like this huge, I don't want to say a tidal wave because I don't want to make it overwhelming, but initially it may feel a little overwhelming because when Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to stay at the 0 degree of Aquarius before it retrogrades for quite, for like 6 weeks. It's a quick stint into Aquarius, but a powerful one nonetheless. But let me go back to now talk about Pisces energy. Pisces and the 12th house by nature is the house of karma, the house of, sometimes it's called the house of troubles or the house of self-undoing. It's also the house that is hidden. It's the house behind the self. So we can see behind the scenes activities, other people's agendas. Sometimes it's also referred to as the house of hidden enemies. And that's not always the enemies that are outside of ourselves, but the unconscious characteristics that we purport and the unconscious patterns that allow us to sit in a victim-y energy. The 12th house by nature rules things that are places where we spend time alone. It is a place where there is, it rules research labs, it rules mental institutions, hospitals, it rules ashrams, mosques, retreats, meaning spiritual retreats, spas, hotels. It rules spirits, both on the other side and that which we escape with. And escapism is a big thing with Pisces because it has no protective shell. So when it feels overwhelmed or disappointed or disillusioned or feeling some of the lower vibrations of that martyrdom or victimhood, it will want to swim away from the situation. It will want to mask it or create a fog of some kind. And this is where Saturn is going to get a little tough when it initially moves in, because it's going to feel very jarring if we've been playing the it's not me, don't blame me, I didn't do it. That's a lack of awareness of our co-creation, and our soul is aware that we are always co-creating. So when we dig deeper into the levels of wisdom that are being offered to us through this particular transit, it's going to be very powerful. Now, this Pisces by nature rules the 12th house. For you, this is Saturn is going to move into your 11th house. So I'm going to go back and layer that on here, because so we're looking at Saturn looking to want to build new structures, to show discipline, tenacity, determination, to move forward in what you want, beyond what you can see. And for Taurus energy, that might be a little bit challenging, but at the same time, I feel as if because Saturn rules Capricorn, there's a bit of cooperation. And I believe that here, what we're going to see is Saturn asking you to look deeply into your insecurities or into your self-worth, and to start to really capitalize on what is working rather than how much further you have to go. The 11th house, Pisces is your 11th house, is the house where we are engaged in a large group of friends. This is social networks. This is the internet. It rules innovation, and it rules forward thinking, and Saturn naturally co-rules the 11th house. So here we have a bit of familiarity with the dynamic. As we put the Pisces energy onto this 11th house, we're going to look to build a more rooted sense of connection with others that have a common bond with the cosmic consciousness. We're going to see Taurus being able to find spiritual wisdom through the disruption that you may have been experiencing as Uranus has been moving from your first house and working to liberate you from that which you have inadvertently been fixed in. And Taurus by nature, as a fixed sign, rules the family history, and Pisces rules history, ancestors, and Saturn rules history. So here there's a real opportunity to use your story, not literally, but as a platform for your own divinity, for your own ability to create wisdom through this divine disruption that you potentially have been feeling through Uranus, and liberate yourself into an energy that allows you to serve others while creating ease and comfort and flow for yourself that you feel is dependable, because that's what Saturn is fostering, is sustainability and reward as a result of this endurance. Taurus has this enduring energy. Let me look here. What else did I want to talk about when it comes to Saturn? Oh, let's talk about some dates. So Saturn is going to move into your 11th house of Pisces on the 7th of March, and will stay in Pisces until February 2026. It will retrograde. It's going to go 0 to 7 degrees in this year of 2023, and it will get all the way to the 7th degree before it retrogrades back to the 0 degree. Again, check your natal chart, because if you are any one of the fixed signs, this is going to affect you either in opposition or square. And I think that's important to pay attention to. Saturn will retrograde on June 17th through November 4th, 2023. It will move all the way back to the 0 degree before it will then move forward and remain in Pisces, as I said, until 2026. So this is a real opportunity to build structure in your 11th house of networks, of innovation, of really kind of breaking the mold of what has come before. And I want to offer this because Taurus rules food. And I recently saw an advertisement. I watch a lot of food shows, and Magnolia Network, as those of you that watch me will hear me reference often. There's a new show where some people rented Julia Child's cottage in Provence, France, and they've opened a cooking school there. And yet one of the twists is it has no recipes. This to me is an indication of the future, of what is possible when we allow ourselves and our particular voice, the way we perceive things and we like to do things. And as we are brave to birth those out into our networks of our social platforms, we will see it will naturally bring people of like-mindedness to that platform. So rather than trying to figure out how you can appeal to others, when you appeal to your own sensibilities, others will be drawn to you. So I really want to offer this because Pisces is super creative, and I really kind of didn't harp on that part. And I want to go back to that because Taurus by nature is a creative and ruled by Venus. Venus's best friend is Pisces. So anything that you want to do, whether it be birthing a creative way of looking at money, a creative way of looking at food, a creative way of expressing your voice through song or through lyric, or even, whatever it is so supported right now. So when you first get into this energy of feeling Saturn's, okay, the man is in the house. If you guys watched my Saturn video last year, I referred to Saturn as Coach Boone from the movie Remember the Titans. And if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it because I don't think there's a better depiction of who Saturn would be if Saturn was a physical man. So check that out, because I think that there's a real opportunity that over the next 2 years for you to liberate yourself in a way that creates flow through your personal endeavors. This is super powerful because Pluto is going to move into Aquarius, which is your 10th house of career. And naturally, again, here we see the 10th and 11th house, which Saturn naturally rules in some way. So here, Pluto oftentimes is referred to as death, decay, destruction. I believe that Pluto's energy is really more about breaking up the lies that we tell ourselves, where we have given up our power, or we are overpowering others or controlling others through money, through sex, based on some sort of fear of being in lack of control. By nature, Pluto rules Scorpio. Scorpio rules what they say is other people's money. And oftentimes the human initially goes to inheritances. It's also clients and people that are interested in your products. So Pluto moving into your 10th house for just a small period of time, this 0 degree is very powerful because it's like the infusion of this sign. It's like this, it feels like a burst of energy. And in Aquarius, it's going to feel very Uranian on some level as well. So this is why building structure for your creative endeavors is going to be so powerful for you. And I wanted to say that as Pluto moves into this 10th house, Pluto rules billionaires. It rules the occult, which is also astrology. But to me, on some level, when the occult is referred to, it is in an opposition to giving my power up to religion and to God. So I want to kind of rewrite the idea of what the occult is, because as I use the tools that source energy has given me, like astrology, then I can take advantage of the higher vibrations of these planets, because there are not good and bad planets. Every planet has vibrations that are more challenging and vibrations that are more rewarding. So when we play to Pluto's deepest truth, Pluto by nature on the planet has this huge heart. And I've said it's 600 miles, but I'm not sure that's exactly correct. But you can see it from space. And there's this tumultuous energy underneath the surface that is creating this dynamic of what appears to be a heart. And for me, this is what Pluto wants, for us to go to the deepest psychology of what's important to us and then start to play to that game, to give power to our ideas, to give power to our leadership, to give power to the idea that we can have the things we want. Now we see Aquarius being Taurus's 10th house. You have this opportunity to really stand in a way that as you give life to what's important to you, you offer leadership to others through example. And you may also change your status in the way of, you may, in the public status, we often refer to as career. There's also marriage involved there because people see us get married. They see us change jobs. They see us have children. But for me, overall, when it comes to Taurus, we're kind of concentrating on the 10th and the 11th house. We'll see some other houses come into play when I go into the dates. But this is a time to build structure creatively and without. I want to offer this because, again, Saturn rules restriction. Pisces is considered loss from the human structure as we dissolve into the collective when we leave the body. But from the other side, from the collective side, there is a birth going on here. So I believe there's a very strong birth coming for Taurus as you're aware of these two transits, which are going to tee up Jupiter's expansion in your first house of self moving forward. And I want to offer this too because I'm a big fan of Erin French and The Lost Kitchen. It's another reality cooking show, but this is a woman who's created a dynamic by her own rules, by her own vision. And I think this is so important because it's very 11th house, which is naturally Aquarius, but it's your 10th house of career. And it's also very Uranian. So if you haven't looked into her, check out her Instagram account, check out her philosophy and see if it doesn't resonate with you a bit and give you a little bit of inspiration for allowing yourself to express yourself more openly out into your networks. Okay. So now let's talk about some dates that I think are important for you to be prepared for. Did I get everything I wanted to talk about? I think I did. Okay. So let's go here. All right. So for Taurus, as I said, Saturn is going to move into your 11th house, but from March 7th to the 15th, it will be at that 0 degree. This is going to be, you could very easily just feel completely wake up one morning and go, what happened? You know, you may even start feeling it at the later degrees of Aquarius. The Saturn is sitting at those degrees, which I wanted to bring up as well, because Saturn is going to be at the anaretic degree of Aquarius from February 28th before entering Pisces. So you may really start to become aware of your thoughts, of how old patterns are coming up. And it's not about judging them. It's about allowing for that divine disruption to create wisdom, to give you the tenacity and the endurance and the stubbornness that Taurus has to continue forward without necessarily seeing results right away. Pisces by nature is very watery and misty and foggy. And while that can create some deception, it can also force you into a place where you have to trust your intuition and your inner knowing. And now here we have Saturn asking you to really look at that inner knowing. And is it based on potential giving up your power to someone else or standing strong in your own willingness to walk forward on your own? Because this is also what Pluto is going to be asking for, because Pluto is going to move into Aquarius, your 10th house, on March 23rd. While there's a couple of weeks, maybe, well, not really, there's about a week where Saturn's at the 0 degree, and then it'll move at 1 to 1 degree. The combination of these two planets, and they may not be having a conversation in your chart, but they will be having a world weather feeling. You'll feel the difference of this happening at the same time. So let's talk about what Pluto is going to do in the way of dates. Pluto will move, will remain at the 0 degree of Aquarius between March 23rd, and then it will go retrograde on the 5th, May 1st. All that time it is at the 0 degree. It is moving forward. Now it goes retrograde at the 0 degree all the way till June 11th, where it will go back into Capricorn. So basically, Pluto will be at 0 degrees from March 23rd through June 11th. Very, very powerful. Pay attention to it. If it's your 0 degree, put intentions out in the world. Be brave. Trust yourself more. Trust your voice. Trust your unique expression. And be willing to sit in an energy of gathering information rather than judging where you have been and why you have maybe not moved forward more quickly. Saturn may initially, because Saturn is also having its little 0 degree energy, and that might initially make you feel as if I should have moved forward more quickly. I feel like a bit of regret. Not necessary. Again, pieces of information. You're moving forward succinctly with a strong sense of belief in yourself is the most powerful platform to move forward on. Taking action without checking into that is a little bit in the danger zone. Okay. Now, Aquarius will continue, Pluto will continue its retrograde in Capricorn, I believe going all the way back to the 27th degree until October 11th, where it will again move forward, entering Aquarius on January 21st, 2024 for the next 20 years. And wow, is that going to be an interesting period of time for humanity. So during 2023, we have pretty much Pluto moving around 28 degrees Capricorn all the way to 0 degrees Aquarius, then back down to 27 degrees, and then moving forward to 0 degrees. I'll talk more about this when we get further into this, but if you have anything at these degrees, I happen to have my Mars being squared by Pluto. My Mars is at 27 degrees Libra. My ascendant is at 26 degrees Aries. So this has been a period of time to unravel that which has not served me, but has appeared to be secure. And this is what I think is so powerful about Pluto. All right. So now we have on the 19th of April at 9:32 p.m., we will have a solar eclipse at 29 degrees 50 minutes Aries. This is your 12th house. And eclipses, it's really on the cusp of the first house for you. I believe this is going to be a really powerful time to, the 12th house of Aries is going to ask you where you may be holding any resentment or anger that is thwarting you from moving forward, or, you know, any conversation you're having about, you know, the ability for others to move out of your way, if that's thwarting you, or if there is other energies, meaning situations, experiences, people, dynamics, stories, history, is that really getting in your way? Or is this an old moment where you might have let it get in your way, and if you push past it, you'll feel a sense of success? Because this eclipse is I believe that in Aries, you know, we're seeing Jupiter transiting Aries right now. We're seeing Chiron in Aries right now. All of this in your 12th house is the house that's unseen. It's the house of self-undoing. It's the house of hidden enemies and secrets in some ways. And lots of times, inadvertently, our patterned thought is our own hidden enemy. because we get stuck in a way of feeling and thinking, and until somebody else moves, we feel like we can't move. And this is really where I think this solar eclipse is going to pop that energy up and bring it a sense of awareness about it, and a determination to be brave and courageous, to say, you know what, I'm not going to let that hold me back anymore. I'm going to move forward regardless. On the 1st of May, Pluto has gone retrograde. It's still at 0 degrees, Aquarius in your 10th house, and it is making a square to the nodes. It's already done this. It's been in relation to the nodes because Pluto has been, again, transiting these late degrees of Capricorn. And so they've been, technically they'll be more exact when the nodes change into the Libra Aries axis, but we're getting into a blurry line here. And this square is really bringing up, here we have the North Node in your 1st house, really wanting to move yourself forward, having this, real energy and what I want to say, ravenous appetite for wanting to experience yourself in a more solid and consistent way. And then we have the South Node in Scorpio, where, there can be this sense of feeling a sense of loss of support of other people. And here's Pluto kind of, coming in here, creating this square, asking you, do you really need other people, or is this been a little bit of a binky for you? A sense of pacifying you. And as you allow yourself the strength and the ability to say, you know what, I'm defining myself, and I'm willing to walk through, uncharted territories to feel my own strength and my own power. I believe that as the South Node has gone through Scorpio, it's asked me to be egoless, where I've given up my power to others in the form of some sort of codependency or some sort of deep psychological imprint that I have that puts a ceiling on what I've been able to create. I know when we do if you've ever done one of those self-help programs, they will talk about if people have a certain believability, and that becomes a ceiling. And here Uranus has been blowing up your ceiling, Taurus, and bringing you into a place of believing more and more that what you want out of that North Node is possible, as you're willing to look where the South Node is actually serving you to kind of remove some of those energies that have held you back. That's the way I want to put it. On the 5th of May at 10:34 a.m., we're going to see a lunar eclipse in Scorpio at 14 degrees. This will be in your 7th house of partnerships, and it's going to revisit some of the energies of the eclipses that we experienced on the Taurus-Scorpio axis in 2022. You might want to check your chart again, because we know that the lunar eclipse is a full moon, and the sun will be in Taurus at an exact conjunction with Uranus. So this is going to be super powerful, because here it is. This is about your 1st house and expressing yourself in more liberated ways, in potentially creating a new partnership, but it feels a little tense at first because here we have this opposition. But I believe that, eclipses are 6-month cycles. So there could be this liberation, as your 7th house being Scorpio. As you've walked through that South Node transit, you may have learned things that will actually support this eclipse and bring a sense of being able to release an emotional karmic pattern, or at least have an awareness of it that allows you the opportunity not to make choices on that platform, on that old story. It's almost like, oh, wait a minute, I'm aware of that. Is that really true? Is that current right now? Or am I willing to make it in a more a decision in a more faithful way? Okay. Now on the 16th, we have Pluto still at 0 degrees, but now it's retrograde in your 10th house, making a square to Jupiter that has just moved into Taurus, your first house. And now it's conjunct the North Node at 3 degrees. This is where you're going to have to reevaluate your belief system. This is an opportunity. I think of a square as two parts of myself. Part of myself that was imprinted in my childhood and throughout my soul's incarnations, a habitual way of thinking, a habitual way of feeling, and of processing things. And then this other side of myself that is becoming more and more aware, more and more intentional. And I haven't quite rooted myself. I haven't quite got a real sense of my pacing and of my trust of this experience. So the square creates a tension where I have to kind of make a choice. Here is Pluto going backwards, asking you to really think, have you liberated yourself? Have you given yourself permission to put yourself out in the public eye as the truth of who you are, and understand that that will bring you wealth. It will bring you a sense of accomplishment, a sense of community, a sense of feeling a rhythm with yourself and your career. And career and the public eye don't necessarily mean that that's a job. It could be giving birth. It could be having changing your status in your relationships. There's a lot of hues and subtleties to that 10th house. It's just a very visible house. I tend to think that for my Tauruses, this is more about really bringing forth a sense of your own ability to create resources. And I like to use that word rather than money, because money tends to trigger a limitation. Resources is more Piscean in some ways and more open, and can give us a space for the universe to bring in things we couldn't see with our eyes. Okay, so now we go on to Mars entering Leo, your 4th house. Mars at the 0 degree. It's going to actually move in on May 20th, but we're going to feel it from maybe the 16th through the 28th. And it's making an opposition to Pluto again at 0 degrees Aquarius in your 10th house. So, and this is now making a T-square to Jupiter and the North Node in your 1st house. So I think that there is going to be an opportunity for my Tauruses to look at the influences of their 4th house bravely. That's where we have our childhood imprint. That's, represents the environment of our home, our country, our origin, our experience with our mother or the parent that, had the subconscious influence on us. It's about our intuition. It's about connecting with a part of ourselves that nurtures ourselves. And here Leo is all about self-expression and enjoyment and pleasure and the creation of children, conception of children. So I think that this is a real opportunity, as again, Uranus has been liberating you in your 1st house of self, giving you an opportunity to really, go where you've never gone before in thinking new ideas about yourself. And I think that this Mars is about bravely looking at what you perceive about the home environment and that childhood experience and your ability to nurture yourself along with others, and give you an opportunity to really stretch that beyond where you perceive it could go. Let me be a little more clear, because Pluto retrograde is offering a renovation. It's offering an opportunity for the old story to have decayed and have disintegrated to a place where you can give life to a new story. And the opposition is where there is a feeling of that 4th house energy still being there. Well, it will always be there. The human does not forget things unless there's, extenuating circumstances, or your chart is really pre-wired for that. But most people have an imprint and a pattern, and it's unconscious. And this is where Mars is bravely looking at that pattern now that it's been, both in Gemini and Cancer. Now it's finally getting into a sign where it can, feel a little more resonating, a little more compatibility. And now it's like, I want to really take this on. I've learned something about myself. And this T square is this, feels like this ravenous point where now that I've connected with that, I believe in myself, that I believe a sense of wealth is coming to me. The universe will provide all those resources as I continue to authentically and unabashedly let my wants and desires be expressed. I think we're going to see you getting some traction here, especially since Jupiter is in your first house and will be for the next year. I don't have the dates because we'll talk about that in a separate video. On June 2nd, Saturn will be making a sextile to Jupiter and the North Node in your first house, and making a trine to the South Node in Scorpio in your 7th house. So while this is interesting to me, I think that there is here Saturn in Pisces trining Jupiter feels like this sense of my beliefs of who I am, what I am, and how I want to show up. Pisces is super, super creative, dance, poetry, song, music, photography, filmography. It's just a plethora. I can't even begin to name all the mediums that are potentials that are there. And then you put the Taurus energy and the creation of Taurus, the singing voice, the food, the love of food. There's just so much to be built here. So here, I think Saturn is really saying, as you believe in yourself, we're going to build in a really great way. And this is, again, not about trying to release or have regret about where you've been, but rather using that as the platform, the foundation for such a strong home to be built now. Because a lot of people will relate to your journey and your story. And I want to offer this as well, because with Scorpio being your 7th house, it's not just the house of marriage partnerships, it's the house of peace and harmony and of fairness and balance. And this is a time to collect on the fairness and the balance and the harmony. So I'm thinking that this is an opportunity for that South Node at 3 degrees Scorpio in your house of partnerships to create partnerships with others, maybe even that 11th house Saturn in Pisces, where you can collect people, clients, and create relationships with them. This is the new innovated Aquarian age we're in. So it's really redefining that house as well. Okay, now we go to, on the 11th, we see Pluto re-enter Capricorn, which is your 9th house. So again, you're going to be restructuring your beliefs, giving yourself permission to use your historic dynamic as something that is giving you an awareness. It's not meant to hurt you, to tank you, to take you under, to kill you, to, any of those dark things, as much as that little bit of awareness gives you an opportunity to make a karmic choice that then takes the momentum in a new direction. And that new direction will be capitalized on when when Pluto moves into Aquarius in January. So that's very exciting. Saturn will be at 7 degrees Pisces when it goes retrograde on June 17th in your 11th house until November. This is, again, an opportunity to really review, because you may decide to let go of some structures that you have built. There may be certain platforms that are not as fruitful for you, or you may decide to condense things. There'll be some sort of restructuring, but in a way that is sustainable. So anything that you've built prior will be an opportunity for you to, as Saturn goes retrograde, to sort of cherry pick what is working and I want to say let go, but I don't like that phrase, of what is not working. On the 18th, Jupiter will be at 7 degrees Taurus, making a sextile to Saturn, now retrograde. So I think there'll be ideas that are popping. I think this is going to be a time when Jupiter rules many things. It rules higher education. It rules the Supreme Court. It rules the big philosophical questions of who am I, what am I, why am I here? And it rules foreign people, foreign travel, multicultural experiences. So I think this is going to be an opportunity to really start to look at the Jupiterian dynamic and invite in wealth as you continue to say, it isn't about seeing the results right now. I don't know with Saturn and Pisces that the results are going to be obvious except on an emotional level. I think this is where Saturn is now digging deep into our historic emotional soul's imprint, and we're getting an opportunity to renovate that and to build upon it in a way that's more solid and sustainable than we've experienced in a Pisces energy before. And that's really teeing things up for longevity, and Saturn rewards for tenacity, endurance, and determination. So I think this is really exciting. And I think that, we are going to see as Saturn, when any planet goes retrograde, we get 3 opportunities to experience it. So the planet moves forward and we have this initial kind of jarring energy. Then as it retrogrades, we sort of feel it with a little bit more awareness. And by the time it moves forward 3rd time, there's a real opportunity to capitalize on reward here. So that's why, again, I'm doing these videos now so you can have this awareness. You can refer back to these videos as we get into the springtime. I'll be doing more as we follow these transits and their influence through the rest of the year. So, all right, that's it for me, Taurus. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to book a reading with me, my information is below. Please join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we do angel readings and we get the angels' advice for traversing the week ahead's transits. I'd like to call them angel scopes, but I put horoscopes on the thumbnail because the algorithm picks it up better. All right, everybody. I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace out, Taurus.